Welcome back, casual gardeners. It is the end of August, and that means that here in Zone 6, I am wrapping up my main crops. And if I wanted to grow fall crops, this would be time to plant some of them and too late to plant others. So if you're in Zone 6 and your growing season is like mine, and you'd like to keep planting stuff, this is a great time to plant some lettuce. You can plant some beets, cabbage, smaller varieties of cabbage that have lower times to harvest. Depending on your climate, you may be able to get away with some fall peas. As baby corn. Aw, shucks. So there's still some things that you can plant if you're crazy about gardening. But what I really want to talk about in this video is some of the things that I've learned this year that I didn't know before, because every year we learn some more things. And of course, some of what I learned is going to be specific to my garden and my crops and my climate and will do you no good. But some of what I learned might help you. The cob is starting to get woody at this stage. I'm looking at the kernels and they're too big. So next year I might choose to grow sweet corn. I'm probably going to grow some baby corn next year just so I can carry over fresh seed for the following year, because I want to try baby corn again and see if it works a little bit better. I mean, I'm harvesting, but I think I can learn how to do baby corn better. But I think next year, I enjoy growing corn, and I think next year I might go with some sweet corn. Now I have some girls who can help me deal with the corn I don't want to eat. They don't trust it unless I put it down. We got some trust issues. It's the time I usually bring them treats, so they're being very disappointed in me. All right, girls. Treats now, corn later. There we go. See, that's what they wanted. I was super excited to grow Armenian cucumbers this year, except these are not actually Armenian cucumbers. I don't have anything. Oh, here we go. Here's the one I can show you. These are pickling cucumbers. These are just, Armenian cucumbers aren't even technically cucumbers. They're just a cucumber-like gourd. But these are for sure a cucumber. This is not what I ordered. Luckily, the flavor and texture on these is sufficient for us to eat them as slicers, even though technically they're picklers. Still disappointed. Bad cucumber. Luckily, these Mexicana zucchinis that I ordered are for real Mexicana zucchinis. You can tell from the coloration and the fact that I have very little powdery mildew on the leaves. There's still some on there, especially since we've had a torrential downpour of rain that I'm very grateful for, but there's less than there would have been, and I'm going to call that a win. I've been feeling like a failure as a gardener because I have not, for 3 years now, had success growing potatoes, arguably the easiest crop that you can grow. Well, I think I know why now. If these squash look weird to you, it's because these are weird looking squash. I planted these on time, and this is all the growing they did. I planted them when my potatoes that I was growing from seeds all started to fail. And my squash are stunted too. But that tells me that my failure with potatoes is not necessarily a failure with potatoes. I'm wondering, because this is where I tried to grow potatoes last year as well, maybe the potting soil I purchased was contaminated with herbicide carryover from whatever raw materials they used. I am actually encouraged by this failure. It bums me out that I'm not going to get these delicious butternut squash this year, but at least I know that I am not a super inferior gardener because I can't even grow potatoes now. Another thing I've learned about gardening with respect to, well, me and my habits is that maybe the Super Schmelz variety of kohlrabi is not the best one for me, because in my conditions, with my growing practices, it winds up getting woody. And getting woody may be fun for some people, but not this guy. So I'm going to grow the smaller varieties of kohlrabi in this garden from now on. This year I learned that sweet alyssum is even easier to grow from seed than I thought. So I'm never going to buy plants from a nursery again, because this is a crazy amount of sweet alyssum that I got for very few dollars. And the bees absolutely love them. And I feel like they have been an unalloyed asset in my garden. I strongly recommend this flower to everyone. I mean, look, there's a parasitoid wasp right there. Oh, and there's a native bee. So much life and activity just on this flower patch. It's difficult to tell that I'm standing up because these are my peppers. I mean, they've got some good height on them. But we did have a long, slow spring this year, and I think that set my peppers back a bit. It's not so much a lesson that I learned, because we can't control the weather. We can't. I mean, I guess I could have had them in my greenhouse, but aside from that, there's nothing I could have done. It's just, hey, look how my peppers are going. I believe I get to show off how tall they are. It's like a good 4 feet. Now, I also learned that sometimes it's a lot of fun to just let your weeds grow, because this is a weed. What? Yeah, I think it's an evening primrose. It's so tall though. I don't know. I'm going to transplant this out to my pollinator bed out next to the chicken coop. You cannot tell, because I asked a family member to water some planters around my garden while I was out of town, and they knocked down all those onions, which meant they stopped growing and I don't get them. But this year I learned that growing onions from seed, like these guys, and growing onions from sets, like those guys that are all dead, it does work about the same in this climate. I had about equivalent success. You can't tell because all my set onions are dead. But up until they got knocked over, their growth was equivalent. So next year I'm going to do whatever. I don't know. I mean, it worked pretty great both ways. This one's fallen over, so let me show you. It's a decent sized onion. Good job, me. It's probably not going to store very well yet because of the recent rain we had. Now, this isn't going to help me in my garden, but I just thought it was cool and I want to share it with you. This year I learned that bees really like the pollen that is on these corn tassels, whatever. And I didn't know that before. I didn't, because corn is wind pollinated. I always just assumed that bees didn't care. But it turns out there are always a ton of bees buzzing around my baby corn plants. Even when you're not growing bee pollinated plants, you might be helping the bees in your neighborhood just by having more variety of plants around. Another thing I learned that I'm kind of glad I learned is that even when your seeds are ridiculously out of date, sometimes there's benefit in planting them and seeing what happens. Because I mean, these zinnia seeds were like several years out of date, and I should have chucked them, but I was like, let's find out. And I got a bunch of zinnias, and I love these ones. I'm gonna save seeds from them. It's really easy to do. Ta-da! As you can see, my tomatoes have grown taller than me. And that's fine, because here in Zone 6, it's time for me to start taking measures to encourage the tomatoes in progress to finish ripening, which means that I am going to be pulling off any smaller tomatoes that, well, these are cherries, they don't count. So I'm going to be pulling off any tomatoes that aren't going to have time to finish ripening by the end of next month. And I'm also going to be topping my plants, so chopping them back down so we're of a height to try to encourage more of that energy to go towards tomato growth. That's some things I learned this year, and also just kind of an overview of what's going on in the garden. I hope you enjoyed it. It's not the most amazing video I've ever made. I was supposed to do a much better, more well-researched video yesterday, and I got sick. Thank you so much for joining me here in my garden today. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I hope you have a wonderful time in your own garden.